The boys are back with another episode of Emos presented by Degree. This is our Copa America show where we break down everything and more that you need to know. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. Really enjoyed yesterday's show. Today is 4th of July. No hot dog eating contests, but we'll see who's just the biggest hot dog on the show today. And I know who the favorite, the odds-on leader in that category is. We're match day -1 for Canada Venezuela. The knockout phase actually starts today with Argentina Ecuador. To set the stage and the scene for us, our very own Oliver Platt is down in Arlington, Texas, with a little look ahead and scene setter of how things are playing out.
Hello from Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas, where Canada will train behind me for the final time today ahead of Friday's Copa America quarterfinal against Venezuela. Now, Tuesday was the most difficult day Canada has had at this tournament, as Tajon Buchanan suffered the serious injury that cut the practice short and sent him to hospital for surgery on a fractured tibia. It was interesting then to see how Jesse Marsch would handle the Wednesday session in the aftermath of that incident. He didn't put them through a strenuous physical session in the heat here. He didn't focus on the tactics ahead of Friday's match against Venezuela. Instead, he created a 7v7 tournament, splitting the group into 3 teams. It was fun, and it got the competitive juices flowing again in this team that might have been a little bit shaken up by that Buchanan incident. For anyone wondering, the yellow team emerged victorious, as Liam Miller, slightly dejectedly as he was on another team, told us in the aftermath of the session yesterday. As for Buchanan, his surgery is said to have gone well. He's been in good spirits with players visiting him. I think almost the entire squad has been at some point over the past couple of days to see him. And Jesse Marsch said that he will be traveling with the team to New York for the semi-final when, not if, they win on Friday.
So there you go. Good news that the surgery was a success through a difficult few days for Canada. Now we kind of look ahead to what this Canada team will look like as they take on Venezuela and who will play that right-sided role for the Maple Leaf. Of course, Tajon Buchanan started their match 1 in the tournament. We've seen various players take up that position. Everyone from Richie Larea to Jacob Schaffelberg to Liam Miller have all spent time out on the right side. KJ, how do you see things playing out? Just who would be the preferred choice for this game against Venezuela to take up that position?
Yeah, I think it will probably be Larea. I said yesterday's show that I would have played Buchanan, and I think Buchanan had a real legitimate chance to play for a number of reasons. But I think he showed a lot of signs in the Orlando game that he was back to what Jesse Marsch was wanting from him. And the other reason is just on Richie Larea's fitness. He's played very little football this season. Obviously, he's had his surgery, and coming into Copa America was a bit of a question mark. They've eased him in. He got 10 minutes in Atlanta against Argentina. He started the last 2 games, but hasn't gone anywhere near 90 minutes yet. So, but I do think from the start, what Richie Larea brings is just a unique perspective, right? Like I think he's very, there's no one really else like him in the team in terms of the profile, the athletic profile, can work on the right side, left side. He's good from coming from inside to out. Obviously doesn't quite have the productivity in the final third, the delivery of the final ball that someone like Tajon Buchanan would have, but has other strengths, right? So he has the ability to draw fouls, which is very, very important and brings a level of intensity, I think, to the squad and competitiveness that is really missed when he's not there, Jordan. So, look, Larea is probably the obvious choice here, and they'll hope that they can get, significant minutes out of him again as an impact starter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, KJ. I think the one thing I would add with Richard Larea when you watch him play is just that 1v1 ability. I think when you play a wing back or you play a right back or wherever Jesse Marsch wants to deploy him for the match tomorrow, it's just like you want to be able to contain someone from the Venezuelan side, but then you want to be able to get by someone and then create a matchup of a 2v1 or crosses in the box. That's what Richie brings. Feisty. He's that guy. He's so strong on the ball. And you watch someone like that playing, it's annoying, right? You wanna push around a guy, and you just don't beat Richie. I hardly see him get beat by pace or by skill just because of the way he carries himself. So that right wing back or right mid kind of coming into that 5, I think that's where you'll see him. But I'm with you. If Tajon was healthy, it would be nice to see him play from the start. But Richie Larea, that's his spot where he shines for me.
Larea has been a fixture in this Canada side for quite some time now on 52 caps. I think the only debate is where his best position may be. He brings that versatility, left side, right side. He started left back in this tournament as well. Is he best at right back, a right wing back, the right side of a midfield four? That versatility is certainly a weapon for Jesse Marsch to use depending on the game, depending on the moment. Christian Jack, yeah, there he is right next to us. He had a chance to sit down with Richie just last week and discuss all the change that's happened over the course of his professional career over the last 12 to 18 months. 3 different clubs, including a stint with Nottingham Forest in England. Here he is on the whirlwind that has been the last couple of years of his professional life.
The pressure obviously there is, I mean, I can't speak because I haven't been to other countries, but I would say it's probably up there with the best, if not the best. So in terms of, you know, the way the city receives you, the fans receive you, the pressure you have in sessions, the pressure you have for matches, it's great, honestly. It's, I think, someone that's really competitive and will enjoy and thrive in those type of environments, and that's what I did enjoy a lot, that, you know, every day mattered there, and it's, you know, you couldn't afford to take days off, and if you took days off, you paid for it and stuff like that. So yeah, I like that, and it's honestly what I think football should be about. That's the way you should look at it, and I feel like that's why I enjoy coming to the national team. The national team's a bit like that now, or has always been, and it's getting even more so now because we have guys making moves to bigger clubs and stuff like that. So the expectation's really high, so that's good as well. And I get guys that play MLS and get the feel of what that is when they come to the national team camp because of the guys we have. And I think even at guys at some MLS teams, they have that pressure as well. I know we have it at Toronto. I'm sure some of the other guys with some of the coaches they have and clubs they have it as well. So it's special.
Ball played through. Here is Larea. Richie Larea! That's more like it. Atakubi plays in Larea, and the rich get richer.
Honestly, it's been wild. I think you just described it there. I was at 3 different clubs and all those type of things. So it was, I'm a guy that likes to just live in the moment. So as I was in these places, I was very much so living in the moment and, you know, okay, I'm here now, like, let's focus on what that means being here. And that's kind of how I took it. So it didn't seem too crazy, but yeah, when I sit down and I'm with the missus and we're looking at pictures and we're just like, wow, that was 6 months ago and we were in England, and now it's 10 months ago we were in Vancouver, you know, just stuff like that is crazy to think about. But yeah, I think I've stayed in the moment, so I haven't really process it too much, but yeah, it's been fun, honestly. I mean, it could be worse is the way I always look at it. So yeah, it's been exciting. It's been a lot of movement, but it's been good.
There he goes, Larea into space, lots of it. Larea needs to pick on a man. He does. Eustachio!
And I would do the exact same thing over and over again. I would have made that move. Knowing what I know now, I still would have gone just because of what it added to my game, what it added to me being like just as a person. I think it added a lot of value to my life, meeting so many people that I met, having some of the experiences that I had, and you know, it was a dream of mine to get to Europe, England in particular. So the fact that I was able to do that was good. Like you said, I didn't play the amount of games I would have hoped for, and I know myself and how hard I am on myself. Maybe once I start winding down, maybe that'll eat away at me a little bit more, but the experience itself was great. And obviously I was disappointed at times with not playing enough, and you know, knowing that I could play at that level, and when I did play, I was good. I showed I was good enough to play at that level, but that is football sometimes, and then, you know, stuff happens. But yeah, I'm still very much so happy that I made that move.
Great stuff with Richie Larea. In so many ways, the quintessential Canadian soccer success story. And he's facing that pressure head on. Remember, coming out of Akron, playing university soccer, he was drafted by Orlando, kind of didn't work out there. He was a central midfielder at that time. It was under the leadership of Greg Vanney at Toronto FC that converted him to a fullback. And the rest is history. He's gone through a journey here, KJ, like so many Canadian players have. This is his second stint now with Toronto FC. How different of a player and a person is he through those accrued experiences?
Yeah, well, he's a lot more mature as a footballer and as a person, I think. I mean, the great thing about Richie is it didn't get discussed there, but like he didn't just go to Europe. He had that in mind 2 or 3 years before. He seeked opinions of other people. How do I get better? He wasn't content in just staying in MLS. And for somebody who was given a chance by Toronto FC that he may have thought was over when Orlando turned him down, his ability to just continue to just want to seek perfection and get to the top level, I think is very, very contagious amongst this Canadian group. He plays a big part in what these young players are like, and they look up to him. And look, he's not an old man of the group, far from it. This is a young squad. And so Richie Laryea has an enormous amount of impact on some of these young players, both as a personality and his competitive spirit on and off the pitch. So and then we can only see what's happening right now with Toronto FC and how struggling they are without Richie. And he's being mentioned by John Herdman, and we're waiting to get him back. And just goes to show you how valuable he is seen by club and country. So I think it speaks a lot to his competitive spirit, his ability to never settle and move forward. And what we didn't also talk about there in that feature was just his injury and the dark days that he had to come through that, and how fast he's recovered. So I think that also speaks to just how quickly he moves on from things.
The only knock would be the fact that because of the injury and because of the multiple moves, he probably hasn't played enough football over the last 2.5 years, and had that stability. This is the thing. He chose to come back to Toronto. This is where he wanted to play professionally. This is where he wants his family to be as well. So that's kind of the only thing, Jordan, as we move ahead through 2026, is just needs to be on the field playing regular football to the best of his ability.
And that's the thing. That's the thing for young players, but that's the thing for a 29-year-old and Richie Laryea, right? That consistency that you need. That fighter, competitive nature is so contagious within the squad, as KJ already alluded to. But for me, that ripe age of 29, where you've played certain matches, you're battle tested. This is a player that you need, because young players looking up to him, they're looking at that, but also just to lead the way for the next little bit. So delighted to have Richie back. I know if anyone could come back from an injury and already start chipping away and then playing that certain style, it is Richie. There's certain players where it takes a while to get into the groove, and I'm not going to say his productivity has been fantastic, but I'm just saying the way that he comes into the match and the way that he plays. There's one way. Him in 20 years' time, when he plays men's league, he'll get the yellow cards, he'll get the calls. Like, that's just the way that he plays. He's all in all the time, and Canada needs him for that, and TFC, but we'll just focus on Canada for now.
And no one can draw a foul like Richie Laryea can.
One.
And the cell job.
Close.
Exactly.
Richie Laryea,
it's a skill.
Yeah,
it's a skill, just getting his body in between the ball and the defender, and he does it so well, and he feels that contact and he draws them. So fair play to Richie. We'll see what role he plays on Friday night against Venezuela. Let's chat about the opponent a little bit, as we're match day -1. This Venezuela side, I think to a certain degree, surprise winners of Group B, a group featuring Ecuador, a really strong team, and Mexico as well. And there's obviously expectations around the Mexican side. But 3 matches, 3 wins. In fact, dating back the last 19 games they played, they've only lost 3 times. Twice to Colombia, we know how strong they are, and once to Italy. That's it. They've been very, very competitive. Jordan, what do you expect from Venezuela come tomorrow night?
I think they're going to come out gunswinging. Obviously, it's a quarterfinal. I think they're going to feel confident about the match. I think Canada are a bit underdogs in that regard, but I also think that favors Canada going into this game. I've taken in their matches a little bit, and there has been some fortune. And what I mean by that is Mexico could have had a goal. They won 1-0 in that game, a couple goals, but Venezuela were they stuck together. I'm thinking if you're Canada tomorrow as well, and I'm sure Jesse Marsh is saying this to the players, that the crosses into the box or the aerial duels that Venezuela don't really deal with well could really favor Canada. I think it's going to be an open match. I think both teams are going to know what they have, especially when you're looking at the fact that after 90 minutes, if it's tied, it goes straight to penalties. I think this will be a close, cagey match. But Venezuela with Rondon, with Salcedo, I'm excited to see that matchup against what I would presume to be Johnson on the right side for Canada. It's just a margin. I think when you get to quarterfinal football, it's just who's willing to be a bit more pragmatic on the day, who's willing to give more at the right times. But this Venezuelan side could hurt Canada if they're not defending the way they have the past 2 games. But I feel really comfortable and confident about Canada going into this match and doing something special.
This Venezuela side, KJ, do give up chances, but remarkably, they keep things under control. They bend but don't break, kind of like the mantra of Jesse Marsh in this Canada side at times. So, what's going to stand out to you when you look at Venezuela and the challenges that they'll create for Canada?
Well, you mentioned it. I think they're very much like the South American Canadians. I think that the way that they're a coming force, they're a younger side. They bring real intensity. They're fearless. They're very self-confident when you read some of their quotes over the last few days. And as much as Canada has a right to believe that they're going to win this game, I think the Venezuela have a right to feel that way as well, based on a lot of things. We saw, Chile and Peru almost huff and puff with bigger names, but they're over the hill, a lot of them. This is a team on the climb. They're a difficult opponent, excellent mentality. Batista's a manager that knows them well, former assistant. It's been a coming team for a while. Many people may remember the 2017 Under-20 World Cup final. They played against England when Soteldo and Herrera, who we saw in MLS, who's a very good player for Ferresi, and Macoun played in that tournament. Rondon gets the headlines. Sahovi is a really good player in midfield, good in tight spaces, brings good energy. They're a second half team that fits. They score a lot of goals in the second half. They stay in the game. And so, this is a big moment for this team, a big moment for a team that has never made a World Cup. Believe quite rightly that they will be here in 2026. They've only made it through one quarterfinal in a Copa America. I remember it well. I commentated on that tournament in 2011. They got to the semifinals and lost on penalties to Paraguay. I remember that game. So, they believe now that this is the right time for them to reach the Final Four. They're going to make the World Cup. And I'll finish on saying this. This is also a kind of opponent that Canada could get in 2026. A coming force, low seeded in the world rankings, won't be seeded in their group, out of a different confederation. So there's a lot of storylines about this, and it's tasty that Canada get to play Venezuela in this quarterfinal.
Jordan?
Quickly, I'll just add that I forgot to mention that Venezuela, watching them play, they go forward with like 6, 7, like they really commit. They really want that numbers and bodies forward, and I think that could also favor Canada if they just stay and stick together, because anyone watching this team knows what Canada does best is when they have open space. Their one goal in this tournament comes from what Canada do best, breaking forward and breaking forward quickly. So this is going to be an interesting game, an interesting matchup, but both teams have their strengths. It's just who's better on the day.
Solomon Rondon's the main man up top. Since his move to Pachuca, he's led the CONCACAF Champions Cup with 9 goals on Pachuca's path to winning that tournament. He's in excellent form right now. Some good players underneath. Bello has impressed me. He, like Rondon, has 2 goals in this tournament. And KJ mentioned Yangel Herrera. This player played almost 30 games for Girona and a really good side last season in La Liga. That midfield with Jose Martinez of Philadelphia, man, the Union miss him too. And Caceres, there's some steel. I just think that the battle of the midfield is going to be big here. I should also mention that Darwin Machis is out. He's a former teammate with Valladolid with Kyle Larin. He's out through suspension, those 2 yellows that KJ likes so much at tournaments like these, don't you, buddy? So it should be a good one. Honestly, as much as you think it's going to be a closely contested affair, I'm curious to see how open it will be, because I do think that despite what convention suggests, there could be some goals in this game. Oliver Platt, let's go back down with him as he caught up with Canada center back Derek Cornelius, who's been outstanding this tournament thus far. Cornelius gave us his thoughts on their new head coach, as well as what Canada has learned in recent matches playing against some of the top sides in world football.
Yeah, I would just say the small details, it's not like a night and day between us and them. It's more so, maybe with them they're more on target about the small things, the basics that they do right every time, where maybe we'll do it right, 9 or 8 times out of 10. So I think that was the biggest takeaway, the small things that they do it every single time. They don't, you don't see many straight passes or sloppiness, and then obviously the decisiveness that they have was really a learning curve for us, knowing that's at the highest level the smallest mistakes are going to be punished, and for us on the other way, that when we get the smallest chances we have to take them. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from playing those games. I think just how quickly he's been able to get the guys to understand his type of play and how he wants us, using our qualities, using our strengths. He's been really a lot of detail into what he expects from each one of us. He's pushing us right away. He's very demanding, but in a good way where we have time to have fun, to have a laugh, but also time to lock in and get focused when it comes to the important things that we have to be on top of. So I think that's what really, surprised me, but I noticed from his coaching style that he's really on top of things and the small details matter.
Derek Cornelius with Oliver Platt. I mean, he's being crucial to that defensive improvement under the new manager. And even Jesse Marsh said he's surprised that the defensive side of the equation has been much better at this point, or much further ahead than where Canada's attack is under the new leadership of Jesse Marsh. What do you make of that, KJ? Why has the defending been, I guess, the strongest aspect of this side? So many pundits have bitterly stated Canada's only scored one goal, ignoring the fact they picked up 4 points, which matters that much more. As much as the defending has been very good, what is the issue in the attack? Is it the tactics, the opponent, the personnel? What do you make of that equation?
A little bit of everything, but I think the major thing is it's tournament football. Goals are very hard to come by. We're used to watching club football where in many ways we've never seen as many, free-flowing attacking football, and the goals per game has gone up considerably over the last couple of decades at the highest level in club football. And international football is a little different. The average goal per game is definitely down, certainly is in tournaments. In tournaments, you get more set piece goals, you get more crosses and headed goals that you don't get in club football. I think that ultimately, they deserve their flowers, the defenders, no, because of the way that they've defended, and they've done a great job. But it has been by design a little bit. They play the World Cup champions, and you're not going to have the ball, and you've got to suffer. You play almost in a late afternoon game in Kansas City against Peru, where it's going to be tight, and you get the ball quite a bit, and then ironically the referee makes a bad decision and gives it the throw the wrong way, and then suddenly they get a throw and you counter from that throw and you score a goal, and then you just kind of needed a draw as the game went on. So it's always been the formula that where the defenders need to step up. I think if we think that Canada are going to play this deep the entire time under Jesse Marsh, I think we'd be wrong. But just right now, the aim is to just try and get through the groups and get through the points. And now we have a quarterfinal that ends after 90 minutes and goes to penalties. And we could be talking about after 60 minutes in the game doing the same thing again. So there's a lot of reasons for it. That's just tournament football for me, Jordan.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I also think that if you're to watch or just look at the scores with Canada in Copa America, you would think that they're parking the bus and sitting back. There are moments where they should have had goals in this tournament. Like, you could argue Argentina, you could argue against Peru. It was still a slow day for them. And even Chile, like, big chances for Canada to go out and score goals. It just hasn't really been there in the quality aspect. And that's the last piece. The crosses coming in, the timing of the runs, making sure that you get it on target, that you put it in a corner. Like, Canada has been there, like 85, 90%. It's just that last missing piece. And I hate preaching it because people will be like, oh, well, you need goals to stay in games. Well, absolutely you do. But sometimes with a team that's, even though they know each other, it's a new system, it's a new format, they're going about their football in a different way. This is the thing that AKA suffers or takes a while to get better. Everyone is going to focus on the principles. Jesse Marsh is going to focus on the defensive principles, what they do in a certain moment. And then going forward, and that scoring goal is maybe that thing that seems unfamiliar. I think the beautiful part about this is with the players within the squad, that's their joy. Going forward and attacking the Davids, the Larens, you could go through the list. This is something that their innate being of how they play football will come to fruition. It will shine through. We just hope that's tomorrow.
Yeah, I get what both of you are saying, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the majority of Canada's goals in recent years, even under Herdman, have come in transition, because I do think it comes down to personnel to a certain degree. Because KJ, they just don't have that number 10. They don't have that creative midfielder that can unlock a back line, that maybe when it's pressed up against them, that you need that little bit of quality. Like, Canada do it through pace. And I feel bad, and there's some criticism that comes the strikers' way because they're not scoring goals or this or that and the other. I just don't think that they're getting great service. And I think that that's the next element. Can Canada either find that player or find a way to work around the fact that they don't have that kind of player in their squad, KJ?
Yeah, well, that comes down to different discussions going forward, right? About what kind of system do you want to play? Do you
Yeah.
want to be a team that is pacey out wide and create a lot of things from the width? Do you want to play a team that plays a front three and finds a way to get Laren and David together on that front three, and maybe play a wide player like Buchanan or Schaffelberg in that going forward? And in that case, you bring in a number 6 and then ask Eustachio and Kone to be those players and play truly as 8s. There's lots of different factors that you can go in it, but I completely agree with you. We don't have that number 10. We don't have that delivery from, those middle positions. But, Eustachio does have the ability to play a fantastic final ball. We've seen it a number of times for Canada. And the other thing, too, is that, I feel like there's a set piece goal in this game. And hopefully Canada are on the end of that because, some of the set pieces, I think Jesse Marsh will be hoping to be improved upon. I think what Canada have done so far in this tournament is that they've maximized their potential and played quite well in a lot of moments. But when those moments have stopped and the flow of the game is even a throw in or a quick free kick or a corner here, I don't think they've been at their best. They've lost a bit of concentration a little bit in those moments. And I think Jesse Marsh will be looking at those areas to think, how can we improve those areas and get that one moment that could win the game?
Jesse has to be able to acknowledge this as well, and you kind of just got to deal with the hand that you've been dealt. And I don't know, KJ, whether the team has that number 6 that you feel comfortable to come in right now, nor that number 10. So I still think there's a little bit of a feeling out process here that you're in a knockout round of a major competition that Jesse Marsh is still learning this team on the fly, really, and the strengths and weaknesses and how it all comes together, Jordan. So I just think that that's the type of player or types of players to reinforce the midfield a little bit, that if you can find that right mix, then maybe perhaps you can take this team to another level.
I think new managers too, Wheels, quickly just focus on a unit. I think as you should, as opposed to who's playing the 6, who's playing the 10, who's playing the 8. I think it can get convoluted. If you think about everyone just knowing their roles and keeping it more simple to start, I think that's where you get growth. I think moving forward, you might see players pop into that role or play a little bit differently. But I think for now, this is the way to maybe get to the semifinals or to the next round. We can all agree.
I would have never thought that I was going to be very comfortable with Bombito and Cornelius and where they're at right now. So this team, Alistair Johnson, Herdman told me he just was delivered from the heavens. Different players have popped in and become available. Taniolo Wasai, he's had great chances to score in this tournament. Poof. It was off radars just a few short months ago. All right, let's wrap up today's show. The knockout round starts tonight. Canada will know their opponent heading into their game. It's Argentina. It's Ecuador. KJ, what's your feel about how this game might play out?
I think it'll be tight. We don't know about Messi's fitness. They've already played once in World Cup qualifying. I think Argentina won 1-0 and Buenos Aires. That was a tight game. Messi scored late in that game as well. So I think if anyone's showing up expecting Argentina to steamroll them, I think we might be a little bit mistaken. But it's knockout football in tournaments, right, Jordan? So let's see. I'm not quite sure why Canada's on the same half of this team as well. The brackets all mixed up.
Weird.
We shouldn't be forced to play the same team in the same group twice in the semifinal, but in a 16-team tournament anyway.
The good part about it is that they avoid Uruguay, Colombia, and Brazil potentially till a final.
Yes.
So, Jordan, quick thought.
Quick thought. I think it's going to depend, boys. Literally, I think Argentina's still going to win, but I see this going 1-1 into pens. Ecuador's hard to beat. They're resolute, and this is quarterfinals now. It's different gravy than now. It's knockout football. Teams are a bit different when you get to this stage.
Yeah, it's worthwhile pointing out and emphasizing this isn't like the Euros. There's no extra time. It goes straight to penalties after 90 minutes. So prepare and game plan accordingly. In these tight games, we could see multiple situations where penalties end up playing out. Great stuff. This show's a ton of fun. Thank you for your comments on YouTube. And for those watching on One Soccer, thanks for tuning in. He is Christian Jack. He is Jordan Wilson. I am Gareth Wheeler. This is the Vamos presented by Degree.